Hi everybody and welcome back. I have been really into Kingsfield as of late, and of course when it comes to Kingsfield it's kinda old, so I've been looking for new games that I can play that could kinda stretch the same itch. And I, in another video, stumbled upon Morata. And Morata just released, and I've been playing through it and I fucking love it, so let's talk about it. What the fuck is a Morata then? Well, a Mohrta is a super interesting game that it has a really cool world to explore with super cool weapons. It's built on the GCDOOM engine, so it has that nice old school feel and visuals to it. I also have to admit I fucking love the writing in Mohrta. I love the character design, dark fantasy at its best, and that would be the elevator pitch for Mohrta. However, Mohrta manages, in my opinion, to be a lot more than that, through its world, characters, and of course the gameplay itself. To start off with, the world itself is ravaged by chaos or some other equivalent insert force for evil being thingy that is taking over. And there are two factions that are the people who believe that a chaos should just kind of exist and that we should learn to coexist alongside with it. And then there is the faction that you initially belong to, that being the people who think that chaos should be destroyed. And now, of course, you will get to pick one choice that determines basically the fate of chaos by the end of the game. But in between that, you learn quite a bit both about yourself and the holy order that you are kind of a part of, and what brought you to where you are. Most of it is scattered along with random NPCs you can talk to and scatter better dialogue and whatnot, but you don't have to engage with the story at all if you don't want to. And honestly, I think the story is pretty good, and I think it's really well worth engaging with. But if you don't want to engage with it, what is there to expect? Well, the TLDR is that the world is split into multiple different dimensions. Everything is destroyed by chaos. You have your hub town, and then there are 5 worlds that you'll be traveling to in search for the keys so you can get in and kill this leader of the chaos cult, or whatever the fuck you want to call them, right? So, you as the sort of bounty hunter will travel to the different worlds, Demon Souls style. There'll be all of these like different bosses alongside of weapons to find, secrets to find, and random upgrades to find, because every weapon has an upgrade. And usually they just do more damage, but it is still very well worth doing. I think the exploration is one of the big parts of Morata and one of the reasons why I personally love the game, because my god is the world inspired. And I really genuinely mean it when I say that. I don't think I've played anything outside of the Morata demo that reminds me of anything like this. From a world that is green and luscious but filled with the death of a civilization where only androids exist, to this like entire insane asylum-ish vibe where there's been this insane guy that's been experimenting on different people, to everything in between. Morata is genuinely inspired. And it's one of those things where I will not be able to really get the feeling of exploring it as cross, because the feeling is really what kept me playing through this game. It's the feeling of seeing things that you think to yourself, what even is that? Why is that here? What the fuck is this doing? And then it is all blended on top with a classic boomer shooter combat. Now, if just the very TLDR for a boomer shooter is a fast-paced first-person shooter. And as a fast-paced first-person shooter, there's quite a lot Morata can and cannot do. And it manages to do everything that it possibly can to make itself look cooler. You have dodging, jumping, and enemy attacks to avoid through those jumping and dodges. You have a health bar that can be upgraded. You have your little doll that you can squeeze to get extra HP. Also really cute fucking concept, by the way. And you have all of these other things that, in my opinion, really make the game stand out. Because, quite frankly, whereas a lot of boomer shooters just tends to be the usual formula of shoot bad guy, pick up health kit, Morata has a little bid more to it than just that. As there is the entire heal system, there's the exploration that honestly the best way I can possibly get to it is like Kingsfield-esque, Lunar Acid-esque, in the weirdness and the things that you'll find and the upgrades and what's around the corner. Ooh, look at secret. Like, all of those feelings are present here, and they are all really, really good. I also really, really adore the shotgun. When it comes to boomer shooter, it's hard to not talk about the shotgun, because shotguns are cool. And it really TLDR version of this shotgun is that it has 2 fire modes. You have your usual shoot, load, like to pull the trigger back and all that. And then you have your more cooler one, in my opinion, where you do a little flip with a chaperone style, and then you fire that bitch all of the ammo out at once, hitting whatever is there. It's fucking dope. Every weapon has its own special attack, and that will be weirder weapons than just a shotgun. You have your sword, where its special attack is that you just fucking yeet that thing. You throw that motherfucker. And there are a lot of different things. You have this cranium gun that shoots mini grenades that explode like a nuke, and the special attack for it is you summoning ants. Like, there are so many weird small things. And it is one of those games that is so worth experiencing just for that. Like, that alone is worth experiencing. But the package combined with the weird universe that it takes place in, and all of the different NPCs that have interesting stories and things to talk about, yeah, it makes it more than worth it in my opinion. It is a must-play in my eyes. And I think Morata also really hammers through on one other element, and that is the visuals. Like I said, I like the retro style that the game has quite a lot. I always find that to be a little bit more inspired, because you can go for realism in a game, and then the game will just look like every other fucking game out there. But if you go for a little bit more for retro style, you can put your own artistic touch on it. And I think Morata manages to do that quite well. It stands out entirely. If you showed me a screenshot from any place in this game, I'll be able to tell you, yeah, that's Morata. Because it stands out. It is unique, and I really fucking adore that about it. And I really like the soundtrack that comes along that you have been hearing in the background of this video. However, what is cool weapons, a cool world, and all of that without a progression system? Essentially, you will be exploring the world and you'll find these chests. These chests can have these crystals that you can take back to upgrade your weapons and or armor with. You can also find the doll's eyes. So you have this little doll that I mentioned that you squeeze to get your health back. And that doll, if you find its other eyes, can be sewed on, which gives it more charges so you can squeeze it multiple times. There's also, in the last bit of progression, is this sort of heart that you have to squeeze that will fill up your special meter instantly so you use your special attacks again. They can also get more charges through finding the upgrade material for that. And there is a few systems like that, and I like almost all of them. There's one I didn't really interact as much with, and that is the fact that you can degrade weapons, so weapons you don't use, and just destroy them to get chaos crystals that you can then put into other weapons. And it makes sense as a system. I just don't want to lose my toys. I like them all too much. So I never really engaged with that system, and that might be a personal me issue, it might be a game issue. I think that entirely depends on who's playing it. I will say at times it could feel like there would be a need, or at least a benefit, in having some sort of drop from the enemy. Like a reason to kill them, as most of the enemies, they drop this ammo and they drop all of that different stuff that you'll need in the field when you're fighting, but they don't really drop any form of materials, anything that makes it worth killing them long term. Which means that there are times where I see an enemy and I'm like, can't be bothered, and then I just dodge past them. Now, that is of course a me thing, and that's a thing that I have from my way too much time spent in different Souls games where I also skip enemies, but in general, I feel like having a drop that would make it worth killing, sometimes at least, would be nice. It would be a good little extra thing to have. However, what is already here in terms of progression is really fine. It is your upgrade systems and all of that, and in my opinion, they all work pretty well. There's nothing that really needs to be added or taken away. These are perfectly fine systems, and especially for what you're paying for. I think the game really works well with what it has, and I think those limitations is really what has spread the creativity that we are seeing. As it might also be an engine limitation thing, I'm not quite sure on how that works, but I do know the GCDOOM engine that this is built on is kind of old at this point. But I think it's really cool that you can see this sort of creativity being bred from all of this limitation. And I think that is really what Mohrta is. It's a standing defiance against the limitations of its engine, where it pushes it to what feels like it's its absolute limits. I love this game, as is probably pretty clear by now. And there really isn't anything bad I can say about it. Even if you're on the edge about playing Morata, I think you should at least check out the demo. It's completely free on Steam, and it's well worth checking out. It'll give you a pretty good idea about how the game plays, and it'll give you full access to the first area you go to. I love it. And I love the boss fights, I love the writing, I love the NPCs, I love everything about this game. There really isn't a lot where I feel to myself that it's bad. There are a few weapons that might need a little bit of tuning, mainly because they feel like they're underperforming. But mostly every weapon has its own use. Because you see, the weapons, they do use the same ammo as each other. There are, I think, 3 or 4 different ammo types in the game. And you will essentially just be switching between them. And with the fact that there are more weapons than ammo types, it means that certain weapons run on the same ammo. And you will have to determine which one you really want to keep. It's also why the upgrade system makes sense with the degradation of weapons, but I still never really interacted with it at all. I think it is worth considering for a future game if I have to give any notes to add enemy drops. And maybe with all of the weapons, then maybe retune them a little bit so they feel a little bit more in line. Because here there were some clear ones that I never used, like the Bone Riddler from the very beginning of the game, which is this tracking pulse auto rifle type of thing. It's cute and it's cool, but man, it just nah, I never used it. Never really used it past the very first time I got it. All of that being said, Mohrta is really, really good. It's a game that is well worth playing, with a cool world to explore, cool characters to see, and really cool lore to dig into. I am surprised that Mohrta hasn't been covered more on YouTube, but I really do think this game deserves more attention put towards it. And hopefully with this video you will at least consider going and checking out Mohrta. I have linked the Steam page in the description. I've also left a link to Scumhead and Oslo. Did I pronounce that right? The other guy behind it, like the Scumhead, then there is Oslo, which I think is pronounced correctly, but I'm not quite sure, and if I didn't, then I apologize. But I've also linked their Twitters in the description, so you can go and follow them, because their artwork is really cool as well. If you're into this sort of thing, then, go and check them out too. And finally, I want to thank you for watching, and if you really want to support the channel, you can do the YouTube stuff. I would appreciate that. If not, that's okay. I get it. And you know what? Have a wonderful day regardless of what you do. That's been it for me for this time, and I'll see you all later. Bye.